My first guest is Professor Paul Peterson at Harvard, here to talk about teachers' unions and their popularity. Welcome, Professor.
Well, good morning.
So
it's out here on the Pacific Coast. We're just into the afternoon now.
Okay. Well, teachers' unions are one of the labor groups fighting hardest to recall Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker today because of his collective bargaining reforms. But according to you and a study that you've done and published recently, teachers' unions also have an image problem with the public. You put out a survey each year on public opinion of teachers' unions. What did this year's survey show?
Well, this year the Education Next survey shows that support for the unions is slipping. It's down about 7 percentage points. We asked the question, do you have a generally favorable or positive view of unions or a negative one? And the positive view slipped down from 29 to 22%.
Okay, and you said even among teachers there was a decline as well, correct?
Yeah, that's harder to explain. You know, that's a big drop of 17%. And we asked them, do unions have a positive or negative effect on schools? And but I wonder if they just weren't feeling some of them at least were worried the unions weren't defending their interests as well as they used to.
Yeah. Well,
but others could feel maybe that the unions are a stumbling block, because that's the way we phrased the question. Do you think unions are a stumbling block, or do you think that they're helping get good teachers and good schools?
Well, do you think that what we have seen is declining membership in all kinds of public sector unions, including teachers' unions, and states have passed laws that no longer allow unions to take money involuntarily from paychecks. Perhaps that has had some effect on these declining memberships, don't you think?
Well, there's about a third of the teachers, about 30% of the teachers in all of our polls have expressed reservations about the unions. Generally speaking, you get about 40% of the teachers say they haven't much of an effect one way or the other, and then you have the remainder dividing. And among teachers, there's about a third, maybe a little less, who have always been concerned about the unions, but they may have been paying into the unions, and now they're not willing to sign up to do it. They may not take the effort to get their name off the roll, but when you switch it around, it can have real effects.
For a long time, unions have been able to say that being anti-union is being anti-teacher or anti-education or even anti-student. Is it just harder for them in these sort of economic times to sell that line?
Well, you know, the public loves their teachers. There's no question about that. The teacher has a really positive image with the American public. It goes back to the 19th century when all these young women went into teaching, and they were a very positive, kind force. And even to this day, you know, about 80% of our teachers are women, and there's just a real bond between Americans who went to public school, most of them themselves, and the teachers that they remember fondly from when they were young. But I think they also had teachers, you know, now and again who weren't that good, and so they know you should do something about it. So they don't really have much time for an organization that says you should never let a weak teacher go. So yeah, I think the public makes a distinction between the teacher and the unions.
Do you think that there's a general sense in the public that the U.S. education system is in decline, and that the teachers and perhaps the unions share some of the blame?
You know, we asked the public, what grade would you give the school, A, B, C, D, F? And about 19% give an A and a B, and about 25% a D or an F. And that number has fallen steadily in the last 10 years, and it hasn't turned up again. It's still down at the lowest point it's ever been since this question started being asked by another poll, not by our poll, but another poll. They start back in the 1980s, and in both their poll and our poll, it's now at an all-time low.